We're so glad and excited to have you join us today. This is April and the year is running. I hope you're keeping safe mentally because you remember there is no health without mental health. And it's a pleasure. From wherever you are joining us today, we are so very glad and happy to have you join us. We are having something very important. It's really something we don't talk about in this environment. But yes, we are trying to dare where demons and devils and everybody don't go to. But before we go on more, the medical director and the arrowhead of the Yaba Voice is here to welcome us formally to this webinar. I'm going to invite Dr. Olubenga Adekile Owoye to welcome us formally to this webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Kemi. Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to today's edition of our regular webinar by Yaba Voice on mental health issues. As we all know, Yaba Voice is a platform for mental health education, advocacy, and community outreach. It is a platform of Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos, through which the hospital creates awareness and educates the populace on topical mental health issues. Today's topic is spousal abuse and its psychological implication in men. As we all know, spousal abuse is a common phenomenon in marriage, and this could take various forms, such as physical, emotional, or sexual dimensions with attendant psychosocial complications. In today's webinar, many questions will be answered. For example, what is spousal abuse? How common is this phenomenon, especially in men? What are the various factors responsible for spousal abuse? How do we recognize the psychosocial complications of spousal abuse in any relationship? What are the available preventive measures? And what are the available helps for those experiencing it? And how do we access such help? So in today's webinar, we have two experts to discuss this issue with us today. The first is Dr. Sunday Amosu. Dr. Sunday Amosu is a consultant psychiatrist, special grade 1 at Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Aro, Abeokuta. He has his basic medical undergraduate training from the Premier University College Hospital of the University of Ibadan and postgraduate training at the National Postgraduate Medical College, where he obtained a fellowship of the college in 2008. He is also a member of the West African College of Physicians. He has masters in public health from the Obafemi Awolowo University. Dr. Amosu is an internationally certified addiction professional, a master trainer, and program coordinator at the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. He is a researcher and a trainer, and has many peer-reviewed articles in both local and international journals. Currently, he is the head of the Lantoro Annex of the Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Aro, Abeokuta. Dr. Amosu is a special marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Ogun State Command. He is a member of several psychiatry and allied professionals and mental health advocates. He is married with children. The second expert on the program with us today is Mrs. Jayeola Oluwatoyin Ayowade. Is a licensed social worker and the director of social welfare at the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development for over 20 years. She obtained a first degree in psychology from the University of Ibadan and also master's in social work from the same university. She has worked with diverse populations in social settings, including children, adolescents, and women. She was a director in charge of domestic violence unit of the Lagos State Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation before she became the director of Rehabilitation Department of the ministry. Mrs. Jayeola has made tremendous contribution to the lives of many vulnerable women, children, and youth in Lagos State. She also worked as court assessor at the family court with many years of experience from there. Mrs. Jayeola is also married with children. Kindly relax and listen to our mental health expert as we promise you a rewarding session of today's webinar. Thank you. Over to you, Kemi Akitoyesi.
Thank you so very much, the medical director. Thank you for that arousing welcome. Once again, we want to say thank you to everyone for being on this call with us today. We are grateful that you could find the time to join us on yet another webinar of the Yaba Voice. And like the medical director said, we're looking at something very, very germane, something very important, because it cuts across. And like we said, we don't talk about this, but it really affects us. You know, like you would ask, do men cry? Do they feel pain? No, we have been taught that yes, men has macho power, strength, and energy. And so because of that, they really don't talk, we don't talk about all of those things. Earlier before we started, I was telling someone, I said, will a man now cry? Say, hey, my wife is beating me. It's something that is, but then it's there in our world, and the implication are so much. Please, if you know someone who needs to be here today, you can tell them this. We had started, just send a chat to them right now that we had started the webinar, and so they could join us either by clicking on the link for this webinar on Zoom, or joining us on Facebook. We are there live on Facebook, so you can access us right now as we go on. And please note that you can also send your comments and questions to the chat box. We will be taking them as we go on in this discussion. Our speakers are ready. And so we'll be starting with Dr. Amosu. Dr. Amosu is going to tell us what is domestic spousal abuse in men. Why does it happen? What are those causes? And then we'll also look at what are the signs, that would help you to know that this is happening even to a male partner in a relationship. Over to you, Dr. Amosu. Dr. Amosu, you need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. You need to unmute. The prompt that was sent to you, unmute. Yes, sir. All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, we can hear you now. Over to you, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. It's good to be here. I thank you for the invitation. Let me start by saying that the rich also cry. As men also cry, but they don't cry openly. We cry and we cry and we hid our cry so that people don't know that we cry. We see a problem with ego, but then we are human. We are mere mortals. So issue of intimate partner abuse or domestic abuse, whether male or female, is rampant and very common, and studies all over the world has shown that it is really with us. But we know that usually people thought that it's only female, that the male abuse. But our emphasis today is that male also who suffer from some of these abuses that we are talking about, but they may suffer in silence. So it's called domestic violence or intimate partner abuse. And it can be defined as a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. So the bottom line is this man wants to control, this woman wants to control this man. And the abuse can be physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or even psychological action or threats that influence another person. And they include behaviors that frightens, intimidate, terrorize, manipulate, hurt, humiliate, blame, injure, or wound someone. And it can happen to anyone. This time around, from the female directed towards the male, probably from the wife to the husband. And there are tactics. Sometimes they may not do it direct. There are tactics. Emotional abuse tactics include put down insults or humiliate a partner at home or public. He will just say, oh, keep quiet, we are talking and you are here. Controlling finances, maybe the man has just lost the job. and the woman now hold the aces. So we withhold financial information or financial support from him. Sometimes he steals money from him so that the man will not have. Sometimes
All right. We'll wait for Dr. Amosu to be back, but it seems to be frozen. Dr. Amosu, okay, it's off. Sorry. That was a technical itch. We apologize for that, but we don't have control over some of those things. But we'll be going on now. We hope that Dr. Amosu will be able to join us shortly. But then we have Mrs. Jayola here, who would pick up from where Dr. Amosu had stopped, to tell us more about the prevalence of spousal abuse. I was saying to someone, is it there? No, we need to just be able to talk about this. Yes, Dr. Mustafa Sombe, thank you for that congratulatory message. We are daring to touch on sensitive issues today in Yaba Voice. All right, so Mrs. Jayola, please, what's the prevalence of you are in the ministry? You see cases like this. What's the prevalence of male spousal abuse? And let's see what is it like that you have seen. I know that before Dr. Amosu went off, he was trying to tell us some of the types and what we see. But can you just share more light on that, ma'am?
Thank you, moderator. The prevalence of male spousal abuse is underreported. Male spousal abuse is underreported because a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Because men, because of their ego and the way they are being wired, they feel that they have this false construct of self-sacrifice, and they are being conditioned that they should be tough and they should not have fear and they should not complain. That makes them to keep quiet, despite the fact that they are passing through a lot of emotional abuse at home. So contrary to the popular belief, that men is only women. It's not only women that experience domestic abuse. Men also have experienced a lot of toxic relationship. So when it comes to abuse, our imagination is focused on the women, and that's why help comes for women a lot. But male spousal abuse goes unnoticed. It could be severe, and it could lead to a lot of problems, if not properly attended to. It must be attended to properly. So you see, most men, when they are passing through abuse at home or in relationship, they feel alone, they feel isolated, they feel ashamed to even say it. So, and few of them cry for help, and they reach a state of disequilibrium because they start living below they thought that they are living below the societal standard and notion of manliness. So the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, a non-governmental public organization, according to them, said that 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe abuse from intimate partner in their lifetime. They even mentioned further that 18% of them are being stalked. But in Lagos State, the prevalence of male spousal abuse was 39% as at October 2021. The figure is low when all forms of abuse are considered. Many of male survivors will be overlooked because, whether we like it or not, there's this gender stereotype. So the society is disposed to think that men are stronger. But this morning, I want to tell all of us that a lot of men pass through abuse in relationship. And it's because of, just as Dr. Amosu defined abuse, is when a partner wants to control or dominate the other one. And wants that person to take it, whether he likes it or not. He mentioned the types for us. Some I have on the job, there are cases of like when a woman does not want the man to have freedom of movement, doesn't want the man to go out. There are cases like that, reported cases. They will come that this man does not want me to, this woman does not want me to go out. I must be at home 24/7 with her, after work. The man does not have free movement. There are some women that do beat they do punch their husband. And the man said that it's not because he's a weakling, but because he doesn't want to hurt the woman. So, and the woman now took advantage. Any little thing, the woman will just slap the man. Then there are some women that deprive the men. The men will come to complain that, please kindly call my wife to order. She's been starving me of sexual relationship. When there's any quarrel at home, they believe that is time that they keep their body away from their husband. There's also another complaint is that there was a man that came forward. The man said that he came from a broken home. And because of that, he has been praying that he will never allow such to happen to him. But because of that, he played it cool with the wife. And every time, the woman will just be telling her that she will pack out, be threatening the man that and most times, the man even came to our office that we should appeal to the lady. She packed out on several occasions. So another one, another experience is when women, we like talking. We talk a lot. While men at times they don't really they do action. But women, we do when we are annoyed. All we do most times is to talk, to nag. So that one came that you should just call. They can't cancel my wife. I don't want my home. I don't want this type of home. This is not the type of home I dreamt of when I wanted to marry. So another one is starvation. Some will starve their husbands of food. They will keep things away from them, harassment and several others. So it's so men are living with it and they don't talk about it. And some don't even, they have trouble seeing that this is being called abuse. They have trouble realizing that this is abuse. So they live with it and it will affect, and mentally it will be affecting them because it will affect their well-being. It will affect their well-being and it will cause imminent harm to their safety, their health, psychologically, emotionally, physically, economically.
Thank you, Mrs. Jayola. Before we go into how it's affecting them, I know we're going to go into that now. Dr. Amosu is back. Dr. Amosu, please unmute yourself and then kick off from where you started from. I love how you started off earlier. The fact that yes, the rich also cry. Yes, men cry, but then they cry in secret. And Ms. Jayola had told us now that yes, we have about 39% of men who are sexual or are into one form of abuse or the other. But then again, we know that this figure is grossly underreported. But you were telling us what are those things that causes it? Yes, you had spoken to us about areas where it can be seen. But what are those things? I begin to think, is it because of the way the man is shaped? Or the home is from. And I love the fact that Ms. Dayola came and said, a man made a vow, I am not going to come from a broken home and have a broken marriage. And the wife now capitalized on that. And some of those factors that make women to abuse. Can we explore that some more so that we can see where is it coming from? Is it a personality defect or something more like that? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be talking about risk factor. Why will a man be prone to being abused? One of the things that studies have found out is, one, men with low self-esteem. Maybe while developing, while growing up, the parents have bastarded the self-esteem. He wasn't so good academically, and there's nothing that he will do that they will believe that he has done well. So low self-esteem. Low education. Men with low education. Men with low education, there is tendency for them also to be a bit subservient, especially if the wife has an upper hand in terms of education. Also in terms of income, maybe as a result, maybe the man lost the job and now is at the mercy of the woman. And the man appears to have a lot of inertia. He has lost the job and the woman believes that she's not making enough effort to get another job. Poor use. If a man uses alcohol and is coming home drunk, he will lose self-esteem. Even the children will abuse him, the wife will abuse him, and he will not be able to contribute meaningfully to the house. So the wife may abuse him. Hostility, hunger. If the other partner is the hungry type, and the man is the subservient type, he will take advantage of that. If the man has poor problem-solving skill, issues that he should be able to think and solve, and most of these problems are now being solved by the woman, the woman is likely going to look at the man and say, this man is not a man, and she may be rude and intimidate him. Relatively low IQ. If the man has a relatively low IQ and he feels inferior, insecure, or men with dependent personality, even before he marries, it was the mother who say, oh, this is the one you should marry. This is good for you. He could not talk to the opposite sex. It's some of his friends who did RNG and brought somebody and say, marry this. So already that man is deficient. If that is there, it will not be surprising if that man is abused. If the man suffer from some form of mental illness, maybe the man is depressed, he's suffering some problem, the man has some problem with anxiety, the man is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, one reason or the other, the one is immune, and this man is trying to cope. He may be prone to some of these things. We also need to ask ourselves, why will a man then remain in an abusive relationship? Just like she said, it could even be religious. God hates divorce. Let it not be named once among us. So he wants to run away from divorce. Maybe himself is a product of a broken home and is guiding his home jealously, and he will say, oh, he would rather suffer in silence than allow this one to break. He doesn't want to tell the way his parents, what happened to them. Sometimes a man stays in an abusive relationship when he feels afraid or he feels guilty. He will have to stay there. When he feels financially insecure, oh, if I run away now, if I go leave this relationship, I'm going to suffer. I will have nothing to eat. So he may remain there because of financial insecurity. If he feels a sense of obligation to his female partner, oh, till death do us part. That's my marriage vow. It's an obligation, and we have to stand by it. Sometimes even at the detriment of their life. When he wants to honor the religious conviction, like I said, the marriage oath or the cultural expectation that, this marriage was work. So he will be making effort to put something on the table to do more, even though because of the deficiency that he has ab initio, the wife may believe that he's not doing enough. Why will a man remain in such a relationship? Maybe he's still hopeful that one day, God will intervene. One day, this woman will see reason. One day, maybe her eyes will open. Or maybe he may be ashamed to admit it, just like Mr. Ayola told us. There are many who suffered in silence and they refuse to admit it because of what people will say. Sometimes maybe the threat that if he goes, he will lose his children. He's not even sure that if they go to the family court or so, that he will be granted the custody of these children. So he may be thinking that, look, if I walk out of this relationship, I may lose my children. And he doesn't want to lose them or leave them with her or leave them with another man who will come into our life. And he may not even trust the courts to handle the issue of child custody fairly. He may think that, oh, they may not be fair on me, or he does not want the family to break up. Studies have shown that even those who abuse have some characteristics. One is extreme jealousy. Maybe the woman is unnecessarily jealous, and that's why it will be unnecessarily protective, possessive. That's why we'll be checking on him, on him every day. Where are you? Where are you? Are you not supposed to be home now? What are you doing? Who is with you? Who are you with? So extreme jealousy, possessiveness. He wants to have him. He doesn't want the man to leave aside at all. Unpredictability. Studies have shown that most of abusers and those who abuse are unpredictable. He could just be under a negative impulse and he does something that he or she will even regret. Bad temper. Bad temper. And you know, even verbal abuse, a lot, they have sharp tongue that they could abuse. And they have extremely controlling behavior. Sometimes they may not even be able to delay gratification. They want to get something from this man and they want to get it immediately. And that's why all these problems arises. And when it happens like that, you will see the signs, like I was elucidating on some of those signs, including intimidating statics, including destroying property. Sometimes the woman will just carry the TV and break it. And he knows that it's the man who bought this. She didn't buy it. So it may just be a tactic to intimidate him. It may threaten that I will even kill you. A woman is telling a man that he will kill him. A woman is telling a man that he will harm him. And the man will be wondering, is this me? Who is the husband in this situation? Am I the man? Or? But at the same time, the man may not want to, the man may know that if he responded, he may respond out of proportion. Sometimes the woman may even stalk him and follow him wherever he goes, or harass him, make phone calls. And even physical abuse, it's not only men that abuse. He may shove him, he may shove the man, the woman may shove him, may slap, may hit, may kick, may even bite. They do a lot of biting and the man will suffer injuries and scars. He may throw things at him, he may use a weapon. It's been recorded. Sometimes they will now say, oh, I used the knife in self-defense. Unfortunately, there's no witness, there's no way to corroborate. So, and intentionally, sometimes they deprive them. An issue of sex, you see that it will deprive you. And in fact, if you listen to men, we have been in several Redeemers Men's Fellowship and men's coming together, you will see the bottom line most of the time, especially men that are religious. The complaint they have is this sexual abuse, that this woman will withhold her body, you will beg and beg and beg and beg and beg, and he dare not go out because he has taken that hold till death do them part. Sometimes, even when he managed to perform, the woman will just undermine his performance and say, get out. You have done this, you have done that. So very, very important that we know that men are also being abused, men are being humiliated, men are being belittled, but men tend to keep quiet and hide it. And there are effects even on this partner, on the men, even on the children. Maybe we should go to the effects even on these men. They may suffer a lot of chronic pain.
Dr. Mosu, sorry, before you go, I think we just need to digest. For me, I think I just need water to just digest all of those things that, you had reeled out today. It was just, it's not funny, but a lot of times we really don't know that men go through all of those things. Because,
the rich also cry, men cry too. We cry in silence.
The fault that you see of a man, of a man at times, is that you see this macho man who is in charge and hearing all of these things, it's an eye opener, really. That sometimes, there was something you said earlier, and that's about the fact that sometimes it's subtle. It's not so obvious. It's not like you're punching, you're not slapping, but this sexual thing, and I think it's also very prominent, because most times you now see men becoming very irritable, angry. They tend to, let me use the Yoruba word of crying. Most times they are
Kora
just
no, no, Kora. He will display
yes.
anger even on the children,
They are
on other people.
about the place. You will not understand what is happening. But I think this is just a real eye opener. Before we now go into the solution, you were about telling us some of the emotional effect. But I want Mrs. Jayola to tell us: are there social effects to all of those things? Are there economic effects? Are there yes, maybe social effect. Then Dr. Amosu will now talk to us about the psychological effect of spousal abuse on men. Yes, let's have it that way, Miss Jayola, ma'am. Okay, sorry, Miss Jayola, you have to unmute. We can't hear you. I can't seem to see her again. All right, maybe in the interim while we're waiting for her, Dr. Amosu can go ahead and talk about the psychological effect or the emotional effect. Please let's send a prompt to Dr. Amosu. Yes, all right, sir. Over to you, sir.
I think he's unmuted now.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you so very much. All right, Ms. Jayola, let's have, what have you observed in the family over time for people or for men who had come to complain? What are the consequences of spousal abuse?
Yeah, the consequences is most of them, they have this fear, the fear of being alone, that if he should leave the marriage or he should just complain, he will just be alone. So he prefer to stay in that state of helplessness. He doesn't want to live a single life. He doesn't want to be lonely. He's used to his family. So there's that fear, that the fear of pain in breaking up and moving on.
But does it have any ripple effect on the children, ma'am?
Yes, the fear of losing the children to the wife. That's why some men don't want to display any act of irresponsibility. They want everything to look normal. And they want to live, they want to be a good example. They don't want the children to see that side of, troubleshooting in them, making trouble in the family. Because some women use the children as pawns by threatening to take the children away when they want to leave. Then some men, they just want to stay in that marriage. They want everything. They complain because they want that. They will reform the woman. The woman will change. She will stop doing that. That she's a nice woman, They cover up instead of facing the reality of the domineering nature of the woman and all the negative things that the woman is doing. Then most of these men, just as Dr. Amutu said, they lack self-esteem. So another thing that makes them to stick to the marriage is this love. There are some men that are just, they are madly in love. To them, they are in love. So they don't want the love to disappear. They don't want to do anything to hurt the woman. They are still loving that woman, even in that abusive relationship. They don't want to hurt that woman at all.
Sorry to cut you. Can we say something wrong with them? Can we say there's something wrong with those men now?
Something is wrong with them. Yes, something is wrong with them. Something is wrong with them because that is what they see. So, and that should be corrected. So a man should be able to, not supposed to accept abuse. Because there's society acceptance and reinforcement of this marital violence. Like if you give him a little slap, if you keep him away from you. Then another thing is that when a man does not have the means, doesn't have the means of survival economically, it's the woman that is providing everything they need in the family. He will just be hooked. Another problem on the job is this. So some men are just lazy. Their wife will come forward to tell us that this type of people, they don't want to do anything. So they're like house husband, where we have housewives. So they're like house husband. So they're being rubbished. They don't have a say. So it's everything that comes their way that they just take like this, like that. Then some are so timid. They can't talk. They can't, even when they come, say that please I don't want to say anything in the presence of my wife. I brought this complaint. Just let me call her to order. They don't want to hurt the woman in any form. So it's good for a man to have a means of income. Another one, the one that is not being caused by the man, that is loss of the job. If a man should lose his job, some women will now bring their real nature. They start making trouble. They start dragging the man on the floor, forgetting that when the money was there, they spent the money together. And this man was always using this money to take care of the family. So when there's a little problem, then there'll be serious problem in the home. Then another one that's another complaint from the male, the male for this abuse is when a man is too generous. There was a case of a man that the wife believed that he is wasteful, that he helps people a lot. So he doesn't want to see anybody with the man. He doesn't want the man to help anybody. He wanted to have the man to himself, to herself alone. And that was always causing problem. Then another problem with this spousal abuse is the issue of the phone. This phone that we use now, it causes a lot of problem, because he said the wife will always want to hold her phone every day to see how many people have called him, how many people what was their discussion. Then he said that somebody even came to a female youth copper, that anybody, the wife is always accusing him of having extramarital affairs. And yet, he couldn't leave the marriage. He couldn't seek for help.
Mr. You're allowed to cut it now. We're running out of time. Thank you so very much. But that's a lot. I
Yes.
can open our eyes again to see that it's just in so many dimensions. But then we'll now have to have Dr. Amoso. Dr. Amoso, I want to quickly look at what are the emotional effects or the psychological effects of male spousal abuse? What effect does it have on the man itself? Mrs. Dayola told us some, but maybe you should
It has, definitely. Definitely there are effects. Effect on their mental, effect on their physical, effect on even future relationship. On their mental health, they may suffer unexplained chronic pain. The pain is there, they run tests and they are not able to see anything. They may suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. This woman assaulted me and did this for me 6 months ago. Immediately he seizes her and remembers. He may have nightmares. He will relive the event. He will start avoidance. He may have hypervigilance, startle reflex. This is an anxiety-related problem as a result of spousal abuse. He may develop depression, especially when the way out is not there. Seligman talk about learned helplessness. It's just there. The problem is there, piling up. He should run away. He's not able to run away. So definitely it will develop depression, and whoever develops depression and is not supported, suicide also goes with depression. So he may attempt suicide. Expectedly, a lot of anxiety will be there, sleep problems. All these are emotional problems. Adjustment disorder. The esteem is battered already, so low self-esteem. If this man had psychosis before, it is going to be exacerbated. The psychosis may also not be responding to antipsychotics, to the medication, because of these social and psychological issues that are on the background, because of this battered personality that are on the background that will even worsen the prognosis and the outcome of the illness. It may result to alcohol use, and now we are calling him an alcoholic. Meanwhile, the root cause is this abuse. He may go into other drugs, hypnosedative. He needs to use diazepam, mogadon, rohypnol to sleep. So definitely it will have effect on the emotional health on this victim. Even if he was a man who is still supposed to be at work and is involved in some professional exams, I can Chartered Institute of Banker and co our fellowship exam, and the home is not right, definitely he'll be having educational difficulty, and it will appear as if, oh, this man does not know what he's doing. Meanwhile, it's these challenges that is going through that is causing all of these problems. What about physical health problems? All this will lead to stress, and you see that hypertension, raised blood pressure will become worsened, diabetes will become uncontrolled, ulcer, migraine, tension headache, cluster headache, all these things can happen. Even cancer, it's like an aggression directed inward. If you are in a situation where you are not happy and you are not able to come out of it, and you are suffering in silence, what happens is that some free radicals are released in the body that attacks normal cells. So they can develop cancer as a result. Cancer, even females too can develop cancer as a result. What about even the effect on their children? Being exposed to anger and violence affects the brain. And the brain is growing and growing and growing. And the frontal lobe, which is the center for judgment, for decision making, is the one that developed late. And that's why even at that point, the children make wrong choices of going into drugs, because the brain is not well developed. So it affects them physically, emotionally, and mentally. It affects even the ability to form relationships. These children may have problem forming relationships. All children that are threatened, that are in an environment that is threatened, they're also affected by fear. They're affected by fear. What will happen next? If I get home, will daddy and mommy be fighting? So as a result, they may feel anxious. They feel they panic. They may have increased heart rate, sympathetic discharge, attention. They may be unnecessarily attentive, looking for clues to suggest. Adrenaline will be released, startle reflex, to lie run, to lie stay. They have started again. Something is happening again. And they may find it difficult to sleep. They may even find it difficult to learn and to concentrate. They may react by becoming defiant. Conduct disorder, juvenile delinquency will happen as a result of this. They act impulsively and they may not even be sober about it because they have learned the wrong thing. And if they are not careful, they will also grow to become abusers. And that's why we must be careful. They show outbursts of anger. They may bully when they are in school, they bully other children because they've seen spouses bullying each other. So they learn by imitation, they learn by observation. Some of the children, even by becoming quiet, some may just suddenly become withdrawn. Some may become withdrawn. So it is lose-lose if there is abuse. Even the person who is the perpetrator too, if at the end of the day she's left alone, nobody can live alone. Nobody can raise the child alone. Emotional deprivation, even if there is no financial deprivation, lack of father figure in the house will affect the family. The checks and balances that a man should bring into the home will not be there. So definitely the children will be affected. Even this poor woman will be affected. The society will see her as not being responsible. If she's working, if she lives alone, taking care of the children alone, and they know that it probably has to do with her, people will not be sympathetic towards her. So definitely she will not like herself. So it's important that we know that every time that we go and we do some of these things that borders on violence, especially that children are looking at us, even mere argument. We have seen some situation when it happens even in the home when couples argue. You see the children, they will come to you, they will say, "Daddy, sorry," and they will go back to the mommy and they will also say, "Mommy, sorry." And you know you're already giving a wrong impression. If they are not careful. I know somebody who has remained single and unconsciously, he said he grew up seeing daddy and mommy fighting always, even though they remain together based on religious conviction. Even at over 40 now, this person is still single. He appears not to be interested in marriage because unconsciously he has learned that marriage is full of ups and downs, arguments, anger, violence. Even on the news, we see it left and right. And if we are not careful, we must be careful not to be the aggressor or the perpetrator. And at the same time, if we are on the receiving end, we must do something. If you are in an abusive relationship, you must run. People have said, oh, the Bible is against divorce. Yes, God hates divorce, Malachi 2. But Bible is not against separation, provided you will remain single. But at least self-preservation is number one thing in life. You don't want to die. That's why there's a moral reflex. If you carry a baby and you throw the baby up, the baby will stretch out his hands, stretch out his head, because he doesn't want to fall. So self-preservation is number one. So you must run for your life. Understand that. Yeah.
I'll come back to you. Thank you so very much. And this is loaded. For each of this discussion, no, it's like we just need to drink water and really digest, digest all of this information that you really now. And I love something you just said now, which is also very vital. You said it's a lose. So not just lose for the husband, for the children, even for the woman who is also perpetrating this act. And that's why we need to begin to consider the consequences, the effect on. I know he had reeled out for those of us that are here talking about the pain, depression, suicide, anxiety, sleep, esteem, drug issues. I know it just opened my mind. Sometimes 60-something-year-old men who started in their midlife to drink, and all of a sudden they became, and you are now treating the alcohol abuse, but you're not looking at it down. Yes, it's just a whole, and it's opening up so many things. And I think we need to create more awareness about this in the general society. But before we come back to you, we want to go to Ms. Jayola, who is going to tell us what are the helps that are available. What are the options? What are those things that people in this situation can do? We have said it, men cry. We know that, but they hide to cry. They don't come out. Men are going through a whole lot of these things. Our society has labeled man to be superheroes. And so because of that, you don't see a superhero die during film. It's only in film that they don't die, but we know in real life that they die. But most times they don't come out to talk about all of those things. So what are the available options? Can they do it codedly? Come to your office and other things like that. What are those options that are available for them, ma'am?
There are lots of options. The first one is that they should have strong support. Apart from, I'll talk about the ones from Lagos State, but they should have strong support system. They should stay around positive people, friends. They should seek help, professional help. They should rediscover themselves. Even self-help. Dr. Amuju talk about self-preservation, self-kindness. They should not be putting the blame on themselves. They should focus on the present. Focus on the present and be happy. And Lagos State has done quite a lot of things, have put a lot of things in place to ensure that zero tolerance to domestic violence in Lagos State. We have a creation of Domestic and Sexual Response Agency. They are there 24/7 to listen to complaints from partners in relationship. We have the family support units, that the trained policemen and women. They are trained to handle the domestic violence issues. There are about 15 police stations in Lagos State. We have the Ministry of Women and Poverty Alleviation. They have a domestic violence unit there where you can go for psychosocial intervention, and they do therapies for them, for survivors of domestic violence. Then in my own ministry, that is a Ministry of Youth and Social Development, we have the ministerial responsibility of this my ministry is to ensure that the family stay together, the family unit is strengthened, and the children are well protected, so that they'll become better adults. So we have all these family social services in all the LCDAs and local government areas in Lagos State, where you say that we have counselors there, not one, not two, not three. Then we have the family courts. We have at the high court level and the magisterial level for proper education of family cases. So you can go there too, and they'll be of help to you. Then we have a law that is a protection that protects against domestic violence in Lagos State, 2015. It's amended 2015. So this, and we have the Domestic and Sexual Response Agency toll-free line that you can call at any time, and you'll be responded to. So the number is 080.
Ma, can we just get it typed and sent to the chat box so that people can have quick access to it? Especially some of these agencies that you have mentioned earlier. If you can have it typed, let them just put it on the chat box. People can copy it. We don't know who might need it. Somebody's brother, somebody's sister. No, it just yes, we are focusing on the male now, but then we know that some of these things goes around. So let's have it typed.
Then we don't need to feel ashamed. That is just it. We must have a good, positive self-esteem. We have to be confident. We don't need to be ashamed of the situation, because when there's problem, we must look for solution and believe that you are not the only one and you won't be the first. So you must not be ashamed. If you are passing through any type of spousal abuse, you need to speak out. You need to speak out. You need to go look for help. And if it involves temporary separation from this abuser, is very, very vital, because there's only one life. So then seeking help from this, I told you before, from mental health professionals, where you be counseled, you have counseling sessions. Then anger management, that's another one, because most abusers, they cannot control their anger. You know, after they've done it, they come and appeal, they beg you again, that they won't do such again, but they can't handle it. That's why you have to go for like a form of anger management. That we have cases from some women, when they are annoyed, they destroy everything in the home, physical things, belongings, cars, you know, television sets. They start even displacement of anger. They start beating the children anyhow. They start misbehaving. And that's why it's better to seek help. It's very important to seek help.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. Dr. Mosu, can you, Mr. Ayola had told us some of the things that people can do, but then again, what are the helps that you feel are available, especially psychologically? How can, because, you know, when she was talking about build up your esteem, I'm looking at a man that is down. You know, they will say, he that is down, fear no fall. Yes, you're on the ground, you are falling again already. Somebody is sitting on you and marching you down. And then somebody is now saying, easy. Sometimes it's not easy. Oh. So what can these men do? You know, how can we help? Especially people who also have personality difficulties and other things like that. What are the options? What are the helps available for them?
Well, very important. If anyone is in an abusive relationship, the first thing is you must make sure you are safe. Make sure you are safe. The second thing is you must understand that if you don't do something, the abuse will repeat itself. If he slaps you once, shoves you once, he will always repeat it. So you must understand that the abuse, the violence will likely continue without intervention. You must tell someone you trust about the abuse. There will always be somebody to share your burden with, maybe in the church, maybe in the family, maybe in the office. Somebody, help is always somewhere. So you must tell someone you trust about the abuse. Find out more about this abusive relationship. What's your role? What's the role of others? Find out where help is available. Thank God Mrs. Galila is giving us some of the helpline. Help is always available in all the states. Find out where help is available. And when you find out where that help is available, there are professional counselors. There are helplines that will be available. There are people, counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors who are trained that can sit you down, that will take you through, that will do psychological debriefing, will take you through some of these step by step to bring you out, so that you too will not become a perpetrator of abuse in future, or your children. If they need to, if your children also need to be taken through the same thing and need some form of therapy, don't hesitate. And you must spend time with healthy people. You must spend time with healthy people. If not, you will continue like that. You will learn unconsciously the abnormality. You will think all men or all women are like that. So You may want to remain in the same. They talk about safety plan. When you are in crisis like that, tell people you trust that you are in an abusive relationship. Mrs. Ajayola emphasizes it. You are not a lesser man by coming out. Tell it. Men can cry. Culturally, they said men must not cry. It's not true. We all have emotions. We should show our emotions. Crying is even therapeutic. So tell somebody about it. When there is a crisis, always know, plan where you can go to. If there is an emergency, who will I run to? Where will I run to? Will they be sympathetic? Will this one laugh at me? Will this one accept me as it is? Memorize this emergency number. I was about writing it down. Memorize some of these numbers. They may come in handy as you memorize the outline of the DPO of all the security outfits. Memorize these lines also. And learn to erase phone calls that you have made so that they will not see that you have been making calls to some people. And now it's becoming another thing. As you make call, erase it immediately. You must have an emergency tray. This time around, it's not a tray. It's a small bag of escape. If it's becoming life and death, where this person who is the agitator will not see it. And if you are being stalked, everywhere you are going is following you, is using phone calls to disturb you, you had better report to the police. And if you have children, tell them what they should do in an emergency. If this and this happen, do this. So it's important that we seek help. We seek help. Help is always available. It's important that we cry out. We should not suffer in silence. And we must take steps. We must take steps. We cannot overlabor this issue of taking steps. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Today has been really, really loaded. And you know what I hear you say? Lastly, here, there, sir. I hear you say cry. And it doesn't mean that it has to be physical tears. You can cry out. Cry out for help.
Help.
Die in silence. Don't let the shame or the guilt or whatever it is that the society has imputed on us take you down. Cry out, cry out, cry out. All right, so the hotline is here. I'm going to just try and type it in. Okay, but it's even just so good to know. 080, that's about 3. All right, I'm going to just try and type it here. Let me get somebody to type it here for me. I've just sent it to the chat.
We are doing the two together. Let's have the two together. Call it and type.
It's 080. Okay. 00 again. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6, 3 now. I don't know how is it triplet or what is it now that you call it now? 6 0.
666.
No, 3 now.
3, okay.
3. That's 3 in 6 places. And I think it's even very easy to know. It's 080, then 00, 3 in 6 places.
Okay.
Okay, that's a domestic and sexual abuse agency. All right, so we'll also put that in the chat box before we round up now. Thank you so very much, everyone, for being on this call. Dr. Mustafa Sombe, thank you so very much. Yes, gender sensitive indeed. Yes, again, Professor Badru, thank you so much. He told us that he had done this in his thesis work as a doctorate student back then. And yes, this is also very germane. Yes, we will send the video out so that people who cannot be here at this time can also watch. We want to say thank you to everyone for being here. We're just going to take the last word from our speakers and then we'll round up. Mrs. Jayola, let's take the last word from you. What's the last word for our audience today? Mrs. Jayola. Please unmute yourself, ma'am.
That's okay. The last word is that we have to build on our self-esteem. We must not let anything tamper with our self-esteem, whatever we are passing through. If it's low, we have to go to professionals to ensure that it's being replaced or it's being built for us to be able to perform. You know, by the time we can contribute, you know, to have a good state of mental health, a state of well-being. We'll not allow anything to tamper with our state of well-being. It's very important. We will be able to cope We must build ourselves to be able to cope with stress. We must be able to be productive, according to that is the definition of what the mental health by the WHO. For us to be able to contribute positively to life. So we must stay strong.
Thank you so very much.
And the bottom, you have to be happy at all times. You must work towards being happy.
Be happy.
At all times.
Be happy at all times, irrespective of what life has thrown to you. Please be happy. Build your self-esteem, and it's important. Build it before you get married. Not in marriage. Build it before. If you know there is a deficit, you are dependent. Remember what Dr. Amosu told us: dependent personality. Build it. Strengthen yourself. Dr. Amosu, one last word, please. Your last word, sir.
Cry out. Seek for help. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. Just seek for help. Help is always available. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Amosu is talking like passionately. Cry out. Don't sit down there. You are not helpless. You are not the first man that this would happen to. You're not going to be the last. There will always be a problem in our world. We'll always have people who have issues, poor parenting, lots of issues. But please cry help. Don't sit down there. Thank you so very much, everyone, once again, for being on this call. We have had wonderful discussion this afternoon because you guys have made it very, very possible. Thank you, Dr. Amosu. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Very much. We're looking forward to another episode of this webinar next month by the grace of God. And we'll be looking at post-traumatic stress disorder. And when events happens in the life of people, most times we bottle it up. We just put it in one corner. We don't want to talk about it. And at the end of the day, it bottles up. And it's like a cork, a guard. It just explodes. I begin to wonder what is happening to me. Sometimes we don't even think back to the event that have happened months, years back. But these things are real and they're always affecting our world. We'll be looking at post-traumatic stress disorder and how it affects us and our functioning. How does it manifest and some other things like that. So thank you so very much. On behalf of the medical director, Dr. Lugbenga Dekile-Oweye, and the head of clinicals, Dr. Oluwani, as well as every member of the Yaba Voice team, Dr. Ajiro Tutu, and every other member, Mr. Alabi, Mr. Debayo, Mr. Wale, Ibiyokun, and Mr. Kayode, who's always helping us out in the IT unit. Thank you so very much for being on this call with us. We look forward to seeing you another time. Mama, thank you so very much for being here. To everyone, we appreciate you. Reverend George, we say thank you. Thank you so very much. Until we come your way again next time, thank you so very much. We had over 100 participants here, and that's a very lovely one. And it goes to show that this is something that we would have to do again. We'll look at it more and more and see how it's affecting our world. Thank you so very much. Do have a lovely day. Keep flourishing mentally and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.